Welcome back to the show, my friends. I am your host, Eric Szilagyi. If you've had an uncomfortable experience and you'd like to share it here on the show, please get a hold of me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com. The world wants to hear your experience. We want to hear your story. So reach out to me and let's get yours on the next episode of Uncomfortable. If you haven't yet, make sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram, both at Uncomfortable Podcast 65. And if you had a chance to listen to a couple of episodes, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review. That alone is one of the best ways that you can help get the show out into the algorithm, out in front of more people. And with more people listening, that means more great stories coming your way. If you haven't had a chance yet, Uncomfortable Linktree, it's going to be in the show notes below. It's the best place that you can find anything and everything uncomfortable. I suggest you check that out because there's a lot of other podcasts that I've been on. The links for those are in there as well. The links for Bigfoot and Brews tickets, the link for Bigfoot and Brews event page. What else is in there? Very soon there will be a link to a t-shirt shop that will be online for Bigfoot and Brews. The reason we're doing it that way is through this shop, I can offer you more colors and more variations of the shirt. It's a new design. It's a kick-ass design. You're going to either be able to get it in the center of the back running down the spine, or it'll be on the left chest running down the side of your torso. If you want, you can pick up instead of having it shipped and save yourself some money. If you're coming to Bigfoot and Brews, I will have it there for you on the day of the event. If you're still wanting a shirt and maybe you're not going to be able to make it to the event, go ahead and order it and have it shipped to you. That's up to you. But I did want to offer, if you choose the pickup, you can get it from me the day of the event. So everything there is in the link tree. It is linktree/uncomfortable1. And that is the logo. The uncomfortable is spelled like the logo looks, with the lowercase U and the uppercase N. Speaking of Bigfoot and Brews, that is coming up September 14th. So if you have not got your tickets yet, please get them soon. And don't forget to take a look at the combo ticket for the VIP dinner the night before at the same venue, and then the day of. You get a discount, and that still includes the price of your dinner and one drink. So it's a pretty good deal. So I guess the effort is to really cut down on the length of time that we're doing these intros. A buddy of mine was kind enough to say to me, "Hey, dude, advertise much." So, I get this worm in my brain where if I don't say anything, I'm afraid people aren't going to know about it. But then I look and I'm 7 or 8 minutes in after the intro to the show. So try to shorten this up. We got a great guest for you tonight. He's got a world of experiences, and I'm fortunate because I'm going into this with not knowing. I know bullet points. I don't know the stories at all. Sometimes people send me the whole thing, and then it's kind of spoiled for me because I'm not shocked or surprised during the interview. It still makes a good interview, but this I really don't know anything about. So if you're ready for it, I am. Let's get into it. So if you're ready, please give a warm, uncomfortable welcome to Mr. Matthew Orton. Matthew, welcome to Uncomfortable.
Hey, Eric, it's a pleasure, man. I'm excited to be on here. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
That's awesome. That's some radio jargon there.
I'll throw it out there.
It's great to have you on here. I was glad we could put this together. It's unusual to have as small of an email from somebody as yours was, but still strike me as really, really interesting. And I think I know that the main component of it is one experience in particular that is something that I've been into for a long time. not giving anything away, but you guys that listen regularly probably know. But you have a wide variety of experiences, and I've asked you to kind of narrow it down just a little bit to some. But man, welcome to the show, and it's great to meet you. Great, like you said before we started recording, putting a face with the voice, and so
Yeah, it's great. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's um, yeah, been a long time listener, follower, and a couple of your episodes really jumped out at me. And for me, I wanted to jump in to email you and maybe share some of my experiences. So something that the big one that we'll talk about later, maybe somebody else has something similar that happened. Was took place with me that night, and maybe try and find a better theory than what I have. Because
okay,
I'm drawing blanks when it comes to that incident stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
I've had an unusual, kind of a fun-filled life, full of paranormal and crazy stuff. I'm gonna have to. I got to send you a picture here later on. We'll talk about it here in a second. That I believe I mentioned in the email. I owe you a picture. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yep.
you did, yeah,
So I'm remembering this. So I'm originally from the great state of Utah, and we had a cabin, believe it or not, that was 30 miles of the crow flies from the other place up in the Uinta Mountains. That were
no,
Yes, I did not realize how close it was until my dad told me. He's like, you know
really,
where that ranch is at? And I was like, well, yeah, I know the area. And he goes, well, the cabin was 30 miles of the crow flies from there. And I was like, no.
the name that won't be named because potential for getting sued for saying it out loud.
Exactly. But if you know Star Wars, you'll have an idea. I'm,
Luke,
I'm a
this is your ranch.
Luke's. We found your ranch. George might be a little upset over the name. I'm surprised he didn't. So yeah,
Yeah,
but now it's all Disney. It's all Disney.
sounds like just is a little different.
Yep, exactly. But no, it was yeah. So I grew up playing up in the Uinta Mountains in northern Utah. Uh, we're up there all the time, and it's gorgeous. If you've never been up in that area, it's absolutely God's country. My dad used to say it all the time. This is God's country.
Mhm.
So I played up there, played in the Wind Rivers in Wyoming a lot with the horses. We did horses, three wheelers. You remember those? The death
Yep,
traps on three wheelers, snowmobiles.
I remember going head over heels multiple times on a three wheeler.
Yes, yes. And all my mom said was, here's some iodine and walk it off.
Right.
So,
And here's a pair of tweezers to get all the gravel out of your skin.
yeah, my knee, I could tell you stories of that's a whole other topic right there in those three wheelers. Where I almost want to buy one, find one, and refurbish it and just teach my kids how to do it too. Might toughen them up a little
That's
bit.
wrong. That's wrong.
I know.
But I do agree. Kids these days, they do need to toughen up a
Yeah.
bit.
Well, I have a 10-year-old little girl, and I was trying to explain to her what life without cell phones and the internet was like. And she had
Uh,
it blew her
Not a
away.
clue.
Yeah.
Not a
No,
clue.
I'll sit outside and she's like, what are you doing, Daddy? Like, I don't like being inside. I prefer to be outside. We had street lights. That was our alarm. That was our time to go in. I mean, my
Yep.
bicycle, I probably put more miles on my bicycle than I did my first car. You know,
You're probably right.
granted, my
My
first car lasted like 3 months.
Schwinn Stingray with the extended forks in the front to make it look like a chopper.
Yep. Yep. Oh gosh, we did
Yeah.
everything. But no,
Metallic
as a
green.
kid though, lived in a haunted house right off the bat, which is weird. Oh, actually, I'll back it up even further. So, mom being a single mom, I guess the first paranormal creepy thing that happened was my mom was a single mom before she married my stepdad. We were living in an apartment there in Riverdale, Utah. And my mom was working 3 jobs at the time, trying to provide for me and my little sister. And she had a night off. And I'm going to make you feel really old here in a minute. And she got
Already do.
well, it's going to get better. She got the kids to bed. She got my little sister to bed. And Benny Hill was on TV. My mom
Good
always
stuff.
refused to let me watch Benny Hill. And she was allowing me to watch it. So we're watching Benny Hill. We're sitting there, and my mom made this sudden gasping sound. You know, the one's going to get your attention. Somebody's, you know, a startled sound.
Yeah.
So I looked at my mom, and I'm probably about 5. I look over at my mom, and she's looking behind us at the kitchen. So I turn my head and look, and this shadow figure comes floating out of the kitchen into the bathroom, out of the bathroom into her room, came out of her room, and then it went into my room where my little sister was.
Now this was like a
This
recognizable
was a
figure, or it was just a
yes, yes. So my description of it at 5 is it was tall enough to fill the wall. The feet didn't touch the ground, so there was a space between the feet. It looked to me, it had a cape and like a top hat, like a cape was flowing behind it. Comes out, floats in, goes into my little sister's room, in my room. My mom jumps up, sprints in there, grabs my little sister, and comes back out. My mom's description of this, and we just talked about this probably about a month ago, me and my mom did. And I give her my description. She goes, that's not what it looked like. Her description is it was shorter. It had a hat, but it wasn't a top hat. She described it almost kind of like a weird kind of petty hat and no cape.
Okay.
So we're both saying the same thing, but we both have 2 different recollections of it.
Yeah.
Yep. And what makes the
Interesting.
what makes the story creepier though is again, this is probably 1980. And my mom at 1:00 in the morning, my grandmother and my aunt showed up at 1 in the morning while we're still sitting in the living room. Because I remember I was asleep, and when they came in, woke us up, and we loaded up in their car, in my grandma's car, and went to my grandma's house. They never went back to that apartment. The next day, they got us moved out of that apartment. Yes.
Really?
So my mom's version is she kept hearing her dead father's voice calling her name.
Okay.
And that's what she was turning around. When she saw the figure in the kitchen, that's what made the gasping sound.
Oh, that didn't come from her.
No, she gasped. So when she saw it, she freaked out because she didn't know it. But she was hearing her dad. I didn't hear her dad's voice at all. I didn't hear nothing. I was focused on Benny Hill. So that's what she was hearing. My grandma, sitting at home that night, said that she had this sudden sense of my grandpa and that something was wrong with my mom. And when my aunt was working swing shifts, so as soon as she got off work and I got to my grandma's house, they went straight over to us to check on us.
Interesting. So they just showed up because of a gut feeling.
Yep. And then while we were staying there, I had another shadow person at my grandma's house.
Completely different looking.
This was completely different looking, completely different color. Yep. This was a maroon, deep maroon, really, really deep maroon. And it was stretched across 3 sub-basement windows. Y'all have basements up there in Michigan, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the 3 little windows are probably about like 8, you know what I'm talking about, probably about 3 feet with like a foot space in between them. Yeah.
Way up at the top before the floor joists start.
Right there at the ground level. Yeah, my grandma had these thick bushes on the other side of the windows for privacy, and this thing was stretched out on this side of it, and the inside stretched out with his head. And I remember as a kid sleep on the couch, and I looked at it.
Like it was on its side looking in the window?
Yes, but it was in the window. But it was like stretched out like on the windowsills, the edge.
That's creepy as
shit. So I'm staring at this thing. And of course, again, 5 or 6. And I was like, nope. Turned my head around and did the kid thing. Go away, go away, go away, go away. And I turned my head to look over my shoulder. It raised its head up off of its arm like it sees me. And I remember looking at it going, nope. And I flipped back around to face the couch and going, go away, go away, go away, go away, go away, go away. And fell asleep that way. And that morning I was telling everybody, I saw it again. I saw it again. I saw it again. I saw it again. And they're like, oh, no, you didn't see nothing. It was all your imagination. It was all this. But Eric, it was just as real as I'm looking at you right now on the screen. and it moved it. It
So
moved its
this
head up, like it was acknowledging me seeing it.
so before we started recording, you indicated to me that you had a rather interesting religious upbringing,
Yes.
being there in Utah. Um, I know like next to nothing about the culture of that religion.
Of the Mormons. Yeah.
Uh, the uh, what are their beliefs when it comes to things like the paranormal, supernatural? What kind of? I mean,
Okay. So on my for you know, a little background. So my family, my mom and my stepdad, firm believers, which is going to come into place here in a minute in the next story. The church, on the other hand, they are believers to a point of the paranormal, but at the same time, I look at they're all the same. So every church is going to be the same. That there's no belief in it, or everything is a demon, or everything is God. If that makes sense, you know.
there's nothing in
Yeah,
between.
there's nothing in between. And for a lot
Right.
of the church, that way, the church I was raised in, that's pretty much how it is as well. What started me on a journey in my late teens and early 20s, which we discussed a little bit about that as well. So um, they're really big on family units, is they're huge on. The LDS church is huge on family. I mean, very, very big on family, to where the immediate family, everybody else. It was actually, it's not a bad religion to grow up in. It was a really good, I mean, it was a lot of wholesome. There's a lot of love. Everything wasn't a bad religion at all. Then it has a bad rep out there, and but at the same time, it was me personally looking at it. It's almost kind of cultish, if that makes any sense. But I also view,
I wasn't going to be rude and say that out loud, but that has been my opinion of it, with the limited knowledge that I have of it.
but yeah, there was, yeah. So I mean, there's like I got asked a lot. Oh, do y'all don't believe in Jesus? Oh no, no, no. They're all about Jesus. They're all about God. They're all about Jesus. They're all about all that. They just believe that there's another testimony of Jesus after he was crucified in Israel and he resurrected. When he ascended on up to heaven, he came over to the New World and preached here and to two tribes, the Nephites and the Moronites. And the sad part is, though, there's the only people who can archaeologically prove that these tribes existed are people who are associated with the church. And to me, I kind of look at
That's
that
the
almost a little Scientology.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Where the
yeah,
only the
absolutely.
only thing that I could find in some of my research that kind of comes close to it is when Christopher Columbus came to the New World, and the locals down there saw him. They believed that he was a god who had returned because he was a white god. He was to them he was white. I mean, 'cause obviously he's not, but he was white. And so if you look at what the skin tone could have been, the actual skin tone could have been for Jesus coming out of the Middle East, compared it on, I mean, very similar, because there is some archaeological history down there of a god that left by the sea and said that he would return as well. So when the ship showed up, they never saw these ships before, the sailing ships. That's where there's that's the only bit of correlation I can find. They kind of support it. And I find it funny how from South America, that the history of the golden plates was they got transferred, that the Book of Mormon is based off of, as these golden plates were transferred all the way from South America all the way to the state of New York to be buried.
For what purpose? That was kind of a
Yeah, I know
rhetorical.
exactly. But so I mean, and of course, my parents are absolutely into the church. All my family is, and I get chastised a little bit because I'll ask questions, and they're kind of like, and there's no answers. Or you get the typical one. Well, God just hasn't revealed it yet. No, God has revealed it. It's all laid out in front of us. It's always there. So, and I get accused of not being Christian all the time. I'm like, I am. Just because of my hobbies and what I'm into and my passions. I'm passionate because I've experienced it. And if you read the Bible, you pay attention, there is so much paranormal and supernatural in the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. It,
It's thriving on
yes.
it.
It's,
It's literally a supernatural story.
I mean, Hollywood couldn't make anything better than that. They
Right.
really couldn't, So, but so going to the church, is very interesting. I was very adamant about that. I was really active in the church as a kid, to where the bishop all the time would tell my mom and stepdad, "Hey, look, whatever you do, keep Matthew in the church. Matthew's going to be a speaker one day. His calling is going to be a speaker for the church. He's going to be a leader in the church. He's going to be." I mean, they were doing everything they could to keep me into the church and to grow me into the church. And I remember I went before I was baptized. It was before my mom married my stepdad. Um, it was me and my mom and another guy at the church. And again, I was real little, so I couldn't really tell you who it was or what was going on. I'm almost 50 now, so that's a long time ago. But I remember we rode in his car from Ogden down to Salt Lake City, and I got a really private tour of the temple. So it was me, it was my mom, there was this other gentleman, and I know that the other people that were with us were obviously really important, high up somewhere in the church. And I got a chance to go like in the back doors. I got a chance to see where they do all the major baptisms at. Take me back. I got a huge tour of the temple, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, if anybody gets a chance to go see, it's absolutely gorgeous in there. And then I remember after that, we got done, which was then this is the part that stood out to me more than as a kid than the temple was. We go to an apartment, and I remember complaining that I was hungry, and they were having a meeting, and they gave me some kind of weird porridge. I've never had porridge before in my life. And I remember I
Yeah.
took 2 bites of it, and I said, "No." I remember, like, oh, being a kid, making that
Yeah.
face and pushing it away. No. And that's the last memory I have of it. I don't remember even going home or anything.
You mean like there was something in it that
I'm not saying I was 5, so you know how the memory works as a
yeah.
5-year-old. So it could be just, but I remember the porridge and pushing it away on the table. And I do remember the table remember those old, small, kind of the smaller 4 people one? They had like the yellow laminate with kind of little weird white flowers on it and the white silver lining around the table.
The silver
Yeah,
around it,
yeah.
yeah.
So I can remember that just fine. And me pushing this blue plastic bowl of porridge away after taking 2 bites and saying no. Yeah. And I don't think anything weird like that took place because my mom was really protective of me and my sister. So I know
Yeah.
for sure there was none of that. But it was after that for sure is when they kept pushing and they kept pushing. And our neighbors would tell my mom and dad all the time. The neighbors would tell me the same thing. I was a kid getting up in front of sacrament, and preaching, giving my testimony to God and to the church and everything. And I'd be up there, I mean, just speaking away. And that,
Were your were your parents high value
nope,
targets in that church?
nope, not at all. Nothing at all.
I mean, because I could see going through the pageantry if they were high value.
Never not. Nope. My
Hmm,
mom was a Sunday school teacher. My stepdad was a member of the priesthood. My real dad wasn't active at all in the church at all. He was the only family member, between my mom, stepdad, and my real dad that wasn't active. He was the only one. Yeah. Yeah,
interesting.
there was nothing. I mean, yeah, my stepdad was a blue collar guy who worked for the Union Pacific Railroad, which is how I ended up in Arkansas. Um, yeah, my real dad side, yeah, Orton Construction Incorporated. My grandpa started a excavation company when we got out of World War II. Moved from central Utah to northern Utah. So, but yeah, but my family did come across with the Mormons on the Orton side. They did travel across, settled in Salt Lake City with Brigham Young. Um, had the it was the first or second Sunday breakfast with the Young family. and then they moved from Salt Lake. They took the family and some more down into central Utah, settled into now what is Salem, Utah, but before it was named Ortonville.
Oh, no
Yeah.
kidding. So your history goes quite deep
Yeah.
there.
And the Mormons are really big on genealogy.
Are
Yes, huge on genealogy. They have whole, departments based on genealogy.
they? And why do you suppose that is? Is that a purity of bloodline thing for them?
I think so. I do. I think there's something to it.
I wonder.
I think there's
I
something to
wonder why
either
that's
they're tracing the roots of everybody on down, and this is where we could get really old school biblical here. And it's where I do think they're trying to chase down the lineage, and they knew something. I mean, the Mormon Church exploded. I mean, if you look at numbers, the Mormon Church is actually the second richest church in the world.
okay.
The first one, obviously, being the Catholic Church. Yep.
Catholic.
So if you look in the short amount of time that the Mormon Church has been around, and how much is it already acquired, wealth wise, and
Yeah.
they have no problem sharing it. That's the other thing too, that they have no problem sharing it. I mean, that a family's in need, they're the first ones to step in and help out. I remember that growing up. To where the church was stepping in to help families out that were in need, and the whole church community was stepping together. And it wasn't they were giving out money out of their pocket to do it; it was the church actually helping to fund. So it was actually really, yeah, like I said, it was really neat growing up. And of course, I grew away from the church, and then my mom and stepdad grew away from the church, and then they recently got back into the church back in 2010, 2009, 2010 is when they got actively back into the church again.
And I suspect that by the way the conversation is going, you are not.
No. I consider myself a Christian. I consider I'm definitely God fearing, but I have a hard time with organized religion. It's almost the same as I have a hard time with organized politics.
Yeah.
So I look at religion.
It's not that far
No,
separated
they're
anymore.
really not. I mean, I look at it as to where organized religion is a really great way to control the masses.
Why isn't that funny how that they named it mass to get a group of people together and scare the hell out of them and put fear of God into them and make everybody think they were going to burn in hell if they did anything wrong?
Exactly. The funny thing is, that man first believed in hell before he believed in heaven? Yes,
Really?
hell was the first thing that man believed in. Man believed into a more of a punishment for its life than it did a positive ending of its life. And if you pay attention to the ancient Egyptians and their ceremonies of trying to travel through to the afterlife, it was horrible. It was absolutely, yes, it was a horrible experience to where you're being weighed and you're being judged, and you're pretty much like, you're not gonna make it. To where death was something to be feared. Now we have it totally different, where we believe in a heaven. And if you live a certain way, you're going to make it to this great happy place, which could be another dimension. And I think hell could be another dimension as well. It's we're all tied in together when it comes to religion. But I'd look at it.
It could be simply based on whatever the vibration is that you've attained in your life. And if you've reached a high enough vibration, then you ascend to a better place. And if your vibration has never gotten to that point and it's too low, you may not be able to travel to that other dimension. You may be sucked into
Another place.
hell or another
Yep,
place.
exactly. I mean, to where when I come, I'm a huge, huge fan of religion. I mean, I soak up what I can when it comes down to it. I read, I watch it, I pay attention to it, and I have my whole life. I mean, I was a kid in the library. You remember those, and the card catalog was your best friend. I was the kid in the library who was reading books on vampires and werewolves and UFOs and Bigfoot. I mean, I lived in Bigfoot country. We grew up with Bigfoot. Bigfoot was everywhere when I was growing up in Utah. Everybody knew about Bigfoot. my dad's dad, and he's trying to
Really?
he's trying to find it right now, and you're going to love this. My stepdad's dad, my step grandpa, he kept a
I mean,
scrapbook.
I'm not surprised that they were in that area, but I'm surprised that it was as prevalent as it was when you were a
Yeah,
child there.
yeah. I remember watching the Patty film with my grandpa, and my grandpa saying, he's up there. Yes, yeah. Again, so I grew up with the religion, but I also grew up lucky too, to where my fascination with Bigfoot and UFOs and ghosts and stuff. I mean, yeah, my parents were a little concerned about it, but they didn't stop me from doing it. And I was soaking up every book I could. And my step grandpa has a scrapbook, and my dad's trying to find it right now through his brother, and a scrapbook of newspaper articles out of the Standard Examiner, the newspaper up there in Ogden, of sightings.
No
Yes,
kidding.
through like the 60s and 70s and such.
And I'd love to get some copies of that if
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So
that would be
we're working on trying to chase it down right now. And then but growing up there in the Uintas, I was 16, and we had there's a lake up there named Hellhole. It's a glacier lake, and it's all the way top. I can't give the elevation off the top of my head, but it's a national park. Shocker. It's a national park, and it's public land before you get up there, and you have to use a four-wheel drive or horseback to get to the national park spot. And then they have a parking lot down there, kind of. It's just kind of an open field where you can park your vehicles, and then you have to walk in or go on horseback from there. And it's a gorgeous lake. Hellhole Lake is absolutely gorgeous. It is so neat up there. And the fish, the trout, it's amazing. And being that high up, you're going to get snow in August,
oh
which
wow.
happened. On the last trip we took up there, we got snow. The storm came in on us, so we had to hike back down to the parking lot. And me and my dad were sitting down resting. We're the only ones that we wore pants. My mom was wearing shorts and she was freezing, so she was walking around to kind of keep herself warm. And she starts jumping up and down, pointing to the ground and yelling my name. And my dad says, "Well, go see what your mother wants." And we found a print.
No, did you really?
Yes, found a print. Then this is where, and I believe that for the longest time, that it was the ball of his foot. When you sprint, you run the balls of your feet. Like
Yep.
it heard us coming and it sprinted. And it was the only track around, nothing else. No other track.
So you were seeing from the ball to the toes, but you weren't seeing any heel
No.
print? Interesting.
Now, so again, being that kid, further in life, it was a couple of years ago, I first heard about the Bigfoot spider crawl.
Yep.
And I remember that standing out to me. And I remember listening to a show, and the guy described it just dropping down all of a sudden. And it sparked that memory of that print. And my first thought was, what if that wasn't the ball of his foot? What if it was her hand? This hand, actually.
Yeah.
Where it dropped on down in that spider crawl that disappeared because it was a field. And just when it dropped on down, it had to put his hand down a little bit hard. And it looks like it's going to be his right hand. Because you can see part of the thumb extension on this side. Let's see if the camera's at. Thumb extension, and you can almost see they're not big. I mean, it's not like big toes. It looks like it's this. And that's the picture I'm going to send you.
No kidding. Yep. Yeah, I'm interested to see that.
And that was in
it's interesting.
And that was in 1992.
Oh, yep. Really? You've had that picture that long?
It's a Bigfoot.
It's interesting. The spider crawl. That's some creepy shit right there. That is that kind of goes against what you would think physics would allow for something the size of that to be able to support itself on in that manner. But interestingly enough, in New Mexico, one of my friends, Robert Kreider, who's a phenomenal researcher in that area, he has found that the clan that's on the property that he investigates most readily will tend to walk on all fours, but instead of being flat footed or flat palmed, they will rock to the outside edge of the foot and use the side of the foot and the side of their hands to support
That
themselves.
makes so much
So
sense.
he's found, yeah, doesn't it?
That makes a whole lot of sense right there. That
Yeah,
you think about it, actually, so what they're doing, they're evenly distributing their weight, and they're making smaller points of contact on the ground, so the tracks aren't going to be as prevalent. So
right.
it's a small contact right there, and on the sides, it's not going to leave that much of an impression. And if it does make an impression, it's not going to be one that we're going to pay
It
attention to.
it it's not going to be
No,
recognizable.
not even close. Oh, I love these shows. I love these shows. This is what it's all about. This right here, discussing the ideas and other theories. And I tell everybody there's no such thing as an expert out there. And if anybody comes
No,
across and
there,
claims to be an expert, you need to turn it off. And go back to the religious thing. I've heard people, I'm an expert on God. Yeah, we're not going to continue a conversation anymore. I'm an expert on this.
now there is a, I guess there's a caveat to that. So, like Robert Kreider primarily, not totally, but primarily investigates and does his research in an area of New Mexico. He's been doing it for years. He's very acclimated to that area, and in that sense, I would say that he is an expert in that area.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
so he's determined that Russian olives are a substantial part of their diet, and because he has found scat and he's dissected the scat and determined that Russian olives are a big part of their diet down there. So I think it's okay to say that you are very knowledgeable in an area,
That I agree in.
but when you profess yourself to be an expert as a whole, that's where people should start being a little fearful and maybe change the channel or stop the conversation because um, you know he knows a lot more about Bigfoot in New Mexico in that area than say some other researcher.
Yeah, he's a
Um,
lot more than I
you
do.
know, so again, the word expert is probably should not be used, but there is a level of competency that accompanies doing your research in a very specific area with a very very specific group of individuals that you have come to recognize the traits or the prints or the how the height of what tree breaks are and stuff. I mean, there's a number of things that go into being able to assess that this path that was taken where there's these disruptions was made by the 12-foot male that he has been in the presence of multiple times over the last 10 years.
Well, that's
So
very similar to that guy that's up in Canada that you were able to get that one interview from. Yes.
Todd
Yep.
Standing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because of your show, I actually looked into, I'd never heard of him, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Which blew me away. So, but I started I saw some of the videos, and I got to be honest, they're pretty compelling to me. And I'm the biggest believer in all things paranormal, most things cryptid, and I'm the first one to call out BS. You know what I mean? I'm the
Yeah.
first one to go, that's no. Like, someone comes to me and says, well, I'm having this weird experience. And I'm automatically going to, you got leaky pipes, you got something going on, you have this, you have that.
Yeah.
You saw
Yeah.
a mangy dog, you saw a coyote, you saw something else. Some of those videos are really scary good. And to where in my mind, I kind of compared a little bit of it to the Patty films. And the reason why is because the technology for the for them to fake the Patty film didn't exist. There was no costumes. There was nothing they could have done at that point in time to fake that. And the irony part is that if you remember too, you've talked about this on your show a lot. When the Patty film came out, we were all blown away. And I'm almost 50, and I think you're in your 50s, though, aren't you?
Just turned 59 last Wednesday.
Oh, well, man. Well, happy late birthday.
Thank
Man,
you.
I feel like I should sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to Eric.
All right.
Well, ironic enough, we're 10 years apart. I turn 49 in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, 10 years apart. Yep. 75 model. So
65 classic.
there you go, baby. But you remember it came out, though. Eyewitnesses who had seen Bigfoot already all said the same thing. That's it.
Yeah.
Not one eyewitness at that time came on out and said, no, that's not at all what I saw. Everybody at that time frame came out and said, yes, that's what I seen. That's exactly what I seen walking away. That's what I seen looking at me. Yeah. All of it. Can't be faked. And some of Todd's videos are absolutely mind-blowing.
They are. And until this day, the first time that I saw him, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. My issue with it is, so if somebody gets really good evidence, there's always going to be, everybody bitches because every picture is blurry and it's not good. But when you get a clear one, then it's too clear and it's too good and it can't be real. And you have to give that some credence, I think. He receives a lot of hate for being a hoaxer.
I can see that.
But I've never heard anybody put forward good, solid, irrefutable evidence that he hoaxed something. Now, that's not to say that he hasn't. I'm not going to say that. And consequently, there are some people that will have an experience, whether it's with a ghost or whether it's with something flying across the room that shouldn't have, or whether it was Bigfoot or a UFO, seeing a light in the sky, something as simple and mundane as that rudimentary experience. And then they want to talk about it, because who wouldn't, right? You want to tell somebody.
Yeah.
But that one little thing may get you like who knows, whatever it was. But that's not good enough, because they had an experience that created that depth of emotion in them and that inability to let it go. So it affected them. So in order to get people to believe their story, they might add to it.
I can see that.
They might be so interested or so concerned with people around them believing that they had experience XYZ that they will take that, and instead of letting it just be it's what it is and being satisfied with it, they have to add to it in order to try to convince somebody. So at times throughout my knowledge of him, I have wondered that some of his evidence is good, true, factual. But in the interest of trying to get knowledge out about it and to get people to look at it harder and take it seriously, what if he took steps to kind of make something so good that nobody could refute it, in an attempt to draw attention to it? And so essentially doing something wrong with the anticipation that was going to be right, for the topic. So, I don't know if he did that. I don't know if everything on his camera is 100% legitimate and true. And, of the three faces, the one that they always call the Muppet, The one that to me looks very Eskimo-ish.
Yep.
The lighter colored one, the tan
Yep.
one. For some reason, I get a very Eskimo-ish feel for that. But the last one, Kubota, that one's terrifying. The black face that is looking out from underneath that log,
Yes.
where you can only see maybe 2/3 of the face. That one, that looks like a demon monkey, and that is that one's terrifying. If those are real, it's amazing captures.
Yep.
But
like I said, I'm the first one to be skeptical about all evidence, even the blobs. And I know that for some reason those videos stood out to me as just there's something real to it. It's just, I don't know, the weird vibe you get that I got off of it. There was a show that was on either Discovery Channel, Travel Channel, one of those channels, and they would always do like, strange paranormal caught on camera. Yeah, I believe is what it was called. And there was one, and
okay.
I was sitting here watching it. And this is probably about 6-7 months ago. Just sitting here, it was background noise, kind of playing on my phone, and it was this guy, and he was hunting up north, out west, somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it was at, and he caught 2 of them on camera. And the thing about it is, it stood out to me was, if you first look at it, it looks like there's a tree. And it looks like it's swaying a little bit with the trees around it. And the guy's going, it's right there. It's right there. He's saying it on the camera. The camera's still, everything's still. And then you look even closer and you're going, oh yeah, it's there. It blended in so perfectly. Yeah. So he backs out of that area, and he gets the camera off. As he's going around, he encounters a second one, films that one for a few minutes, and then gets the hell out of Dodge. But that footage to me was another example right there. And I was going, that's so hard to, it's not a suit. It's not a ghillie suit. You know what I mean? And I know ghillie suits, but, well, I wasn't a sniper, but I know ghillie suits. I wasn't, long enough, but, it was just too natural. There's no way that you and me could pull that sway off. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense to me, because the videos that I've seen that do impact me, there is an organic movement to it, and that's not something that you can easily manipulate.
Nope.
There's hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on movies in Hollywood, and the use of CGI and all these things, but they fail to capture that fluidity that a living organic thing has. And sometimes I see some stuff that is just like, I don't think that's fake. I think it's real.
There's something to it.
It's not many. It's not many. There's a lot of stuff out there that's very interesting, and a lot of videos that I've watched time and time and time again. And it's like, man, there's components of it that, really kind of ring true. But then there's that one little thing that it's like, I don't know. But every once in a while you see one, and that organic fluidity to the way it moves, or to just, I don't know. It's a gut feeling. So
yeah,
I'm not here to try to convince anybody or what, but
well, in all honesty, the audience that listens to your show, they have some form of belief, and they've probably seen enough, listened to enough, watched enough shows, and had their own accounts of experiences to where, you can tell, something that's going to be man-made out in nature versus something that's going to be that belongs in nature.
Right.
You can paint a tree all you want on a concrete post thing and put it next to another tree. It's not going to look like a tree. It's not going to move like a tree. It's not a tree. When I was in the military, for camouflage, that was a key thing about it, is the whole purpose of camouflage is to break up your silhouette. because we have a unique silhouette,
Exactly.
and that's what your eyes are drawn to. And that's what drew
Yep.
stood out to me on those videos I just told you about. Is it to use the trees to break up its silhouette, to move in with the trees, to be with the trees, and that's what. And my 11 years in the military, that's what you look for. That's what's going to stand out.
Yeah.
And if you weren't paying attention, because I remember my ex, I showed my ex, I said, look, because I backed it on, look, look, look. She's going, I don't see anything. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
it blew me away. I was like, I'm up pointing to the TV, drawing it, I'm tracing it. It's right here, you know? Of course, that might be why she's an ex. But anyways, but no, I mean, so the whole fluid thing, and I mean, it's the organic fluid nature. I had this night. Yeah, I did serve 11 years in the military. I was active duty.
Thank you for your service.
Thanks, sir. I would say it was all fun and games, but hey, I've been a couple places around the world. I've been a couple duty stations, and while I was stationed at Hood in 2002, I was an NCO, so I got selected to be a sergeant of the guard for an ammunition holding area that we call AHA ammunition holding area, and we called it an AHA, AHA, you know, and it was 24 on, 24 off, and then you would do your normal duties, and then you would go back and do another 24 on. The unit was doing a mini gunnery um, for the mechanized infantry guys to get qualified up. We pretty much at this point in time we kind of had a suspicion because the Army was pushing things at that time. If you remember '02, and a lot of us who've been around the block a time or two were kind of pretty smart what was happening. And I remember, I went out there for my first night of guard. It was August. It's Texas. It's hotter than the back doors of hell. You're sitting in there, a camouflage net shade, just so it's really not shade. You're praying for a breeze to come through, and it's just kind of a hot, boring detail of watching ammunition. The unit would, they don't store the ammunition on the site. I don't know why, and they picked this one place in northern Fort Hood where I had no idea where this was at. We never trained in this area before, nothing at all, and it was kind of a unique site. You know, so we call paved roads in the military hardballs. So, like if you're going down like your street or the interstate, that's a
Okay.
hardball. And then dirt roads, we call those tank trails, and that's where the tracked vehicles that drive down. So on your military installations, they're going to have a hardball, then parallel, they're going to have a tank trail running parallel to it. So that way, the units going out to train in the field, they're not going to tear up the asphalt on the roads, and then you go off to your little wooded area training area to train at. And so the hardball the main road that we were off of was probably about 400 meters away. So we weren't too far off of the main road with a tank trail that ran to it. And then we were on a smaller tank trail off of that, about 400 meters away. And there was a little dirt berm mound thing that went up probably about 4.5 feet, but it's a sloped 4.5 feet. You know what I'm talking about? So it's just not like a straight up and down, but sloped. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it kind of it kind of started at the top, then it kind of sloped on down to nothing as you went by it. And then where they had the camouflage net at was right beside some really thick bushes. And then we're in front of it, behind us, we could park our vehicles on the tank trail, and it was thick woods behind us. And then in front, it was a wide open field that was probably about 75 meters across that was open that hit the tree line. And at the tree line there, this was where, you know how they clear the trees out for power lines?
Yes.
So I call it an alley. It looks like an alley in the trees. Yeah.
Sure.
So I call it,
Clear
yeah.
cut.
So I look at it as an alley. So there's an alley there from where the power lines they never put up were at, but it was all cleared out, straight shot through. And then off to the left was near Texas open fields, brush grass, there'd be about maybe ankle to shin high here and there, little bushes, but it was pretty simple little site. And my first night out there, we had no problems at all. And then I was showing for my second shift, which was a few days later. And I'm not going to mention anybody's names, but the NCO I was relieving, Sergeant M, when I got there, he looked like he had not slept all night. And AHA duty is you sleep. There's nothing to do. You're going to sleep. I mean, you're just sitting there for 24 hours. You're going to sleep. You're going to snack on MREs or whatever snacks you bring out. You're going to, I mean, that's all you do. So
Yeah.
when I got there, I saw Sergeant M and I said, man, you look like you haven't slept. And he goes, man, he goes, you know what, Sergeant? We had coyotes all night long. I was like, really? He goes, man, those coyotes are messing with us all night. And I was like, oh. And again, you're in Texas, military installation, coyotes are a normal thing. Where there's soldiers at, soldiers leave crap behind, coyotes eat the
Yep.
crap. And I'm not talking literal crap. I mean, junk food, wrappers, garbage. So they're scrappers. So the coyotes know wherever soldiers are at, there's going to be free food. And I said, really? He said, yeah, we had to sleep in the bed of my truck. I was like, man, they were that bad. He said, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had two guards with me, and they were from another platoon in my company. So I didn't know who these kids were. I've never trained them, never worked with them, and vice versa, or with me. I mean, I barely knew who they were. They knew me, but not the other way around. So I release Sergeant Am. They take off, and his guards and him go. Take over the duties, and it was the messed up AHA. There was no radio for us to radio to battalion or to anybody at all. Nobody was coming out there to check on us, and generally you're supposed to have a weapon. You're guarding ammunition. You're actually guarding ammunition. You're supposed to kind of have a weapon. None of it. This unit, now I'm not even going to mention the unit, was really probably not a great unit at all. So I'm not going to try and bash it too hard, but so nothing was set in place how it should have been done. So we're chilling out, we're relaxing. And chilling out is kind of a really strong word to use since it was probably about 110 degrees. And I remember I did not want to eat MREs, and it was right at payday, and I had some cash on me, and I can't leave the site. I'm the NCOIC. I can't leave the site. I have to be there. No matter what happens, I have to be at the site. So I told one of the guys, I said, you know what? I'm kind of wanting some Burger King. Y'all want some Burger King? And then one kid goes, yeah. I said, all right, who wants to drive? And then one kid goes, I'll drive. I said, all right. So I took $20 out. I said, go get some Whoppers. About 40 minutes later, the kid comes back with $20 worth of Whoppers. Eric, he brought 20. I was expecting change, not
Yeah.
Whoppers. And I remember I gave the kid a hard time. I gave him shit about it. I was like, what the fuck were you thinking, dude? Oh, I didn't know, Sergeant. So we eat the Whoppers. We're kind of stuffed, and we've probably got about 5 Whoppers left over. And so these kids, so soldiers, infantry soldiers, on guard duty, board or whatnot.
Just so people
Okay.
know, because they're probably doing the math in their head saying, no, there's no way you could have got 5 Whoppers for $20 left over. What year was this?
2002.
2002. So prices were significantly different back then than they are
Yes,
now.
it was great. $20 was a lot of money in 2002.
Hell, you could buy so much food at Taco Bell, you could feed a family of 4 and then still have a bunch of shit left over for the next day.
Trust me, I was drunk quite a few times at Fort Hood and hitting Taco Bell. I wake up with Taco Bell in your barracks room at your house. It was great. So, but yeah, it was, $20 to get you a lot of food back in 2002. So infantry soldiers, when they're bored, they turn into Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone. They do. The infantry.
How so?
They're going to make spears. They're going to make bows and arrows. They're going to sticks. I love the infantry, and I tease everybody. The first part of infantry is infant. With a bunch of kids. Seriously. But I mean, I was promoted at 21. I mean, I'm barely old enough to buy a beer, and here I am a sergeant. I'm going, the hell am I going to do with these guys?
Yeah.
But God, I love the infantry. I do, and it was such a joy and a pleasure to be an infantry soldier and then become an infantry non-commissioned officer. And besides being a father, that's probably one of the greatest joys I ever had in my life. Was actually being able to lead and train and teach soldiers. It was, something that just to this day, I'm still just beyond proud of my soldiers. Not me, but my soldiers. I had some of the best, and I had a couple of the worst, but all in all, about 90% of them were probably the best men that I ever had to serve with, and I made some lifelong friends with a whole bunch of them. So, but so these kids remember Sergeant M saying that the coyotes. So they want to turn into Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone. So they asked me, "Hey, Son, is it okay if we go make some traps?" And I went, "Yeah, all right, go ahead, David Crockett. Go ahead. Please do." Now, again, sticks, Eric, sticks. Okay, sticks, some string. These kids are trying to come on up with some creative ways to make traps for the
Right.
coyotes with the whoppers. So they wander off out there. They go past the ammunition area, and I'm reading my book. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on them, and I can hear them laughing. They're, again, first part infantry, infant, and they are so excited about these whoppers and these coyotes for that night. Well, the next thing that infantry soldiers do when they're completely bored out in the field is they talk. And the main topics, and they will circle back every time, I can tell you, and every grunt listening is going to back me on this one. We're going to talk about women. We're going to talk about beer. We're going to talk religion. We're going to talk ghosts. We're going to talk paranormal. And then we're going to go back to women. And we're going to go back to beer. You know what I mean? And home. We always talk about home. No matter what. People tell stories of home. That is it. That's all you talk about out there in the field. So, nighttime starts coming in. It's August, so it's obviously going to be a later nighttime. Sun's setting pretty late, 8 o'clock ish. And I had a glow stick. Y'all call them glow sticks. In the military, we call them chem lights. You snap it, crack it, shake it, glows green. So I had one of those, and it was with my gear. So I cracked it on open. I had a little flashlight with me as well. So I got my little chem light open and sit beside me. I got my book out with my flashlight, and I got a can of Pringles I'm snacking on. Now I'm just sitting there chilling out, relaxing. And one of them says, "Did you hear that?" And when he said that, I paused my book and I said, "Hear what?" And he said, Sergeant, the sound, you drop a canteen half filled with water, the plastic ones, when it hits the ground, it makes a weird thunk sound. And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I just heard that." And the guy goes, "Yeah, I heard it too." So I get quiet for a minute and I'm listening. And again, we're about 400 meters away from the hardball. And it sounds like I hear a car go down the road on the hardball. And it sounds like it hit something. And an echo came through that could have been mistaken for a thunk. And I went, "Guys, that's what you heard. That's exactly what you heard." And they were both very adamant that that was not the sound that they had heard. So again, it's now dark. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. All right, and we're listening some more. And I realize they were standing, I'm laying there, the ammunition area is to my right. And I'm on the cam on it, but to my left, they were kind of standing there. Behind them, I realized there's no insects. There's no crickets. There's nothing happening on behind them, straight ahead and straight to the left. Nothing. No cricket sounds,
Dead
no
quiet.
insect. Yeah, you can hear it to the right. Now remember, you're in the woods. You're in Texas. It's August. Everything is loud. You can hear it come from your right, but I couldn't hear it come from my left. And I don't call this out yet. I'm just sitting there going, okay. Now I'm thinking they heard something because it's going to be quiet. And then the noises slowly pick up to the left. And then off to the right, the noises go down. Quiet. Now towards the hardball road is silent. To the left, everything's going crazy. Crickets are trying to find each other. It's, they're having a, insect, party over there. Yes, quiet. Quiet to the right, loud to the left. And that's when one of the guys goes, "Well, that's weird." And I went, "You hear it?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's nothing going on, Sergeant." I went, "Right, nothing's going on." All right, so let's pay attention a little bit. And so I got them quiet. And then the crickets to the right come back up. Then the insects come back up. And a Humvee starts coming down the road. And the Humvee showed up. It was from the gunnery site. and they needed to change out empty, because we keep all the brass and links from the expended cartridges and shells, right? And so we had all the live, so they had to unload the expended stuff and load up with live stuff, and I had to sign for it, stuff like that. I remember when I got up from there, I left my book and my chem light sitting beside my can of Pringles, and the two soldiers got up ahead of me because they were on their feet walking towards the Humvee, and I was the one sitting down. So I got up, walked over to the Humvee, talking to the driver. He was telling me what was going on. We opened up the ammunition area, and my guys starting up. They went right into soldier mode, which is cool. I mean, we had weird stuff happen, but also the Humvee's there, and we go right into soldier mode. So I'm proud of the kids for that. And I remember I looked over at the camo net, and my chem light was gone. The green glow stick gone. And I went, well, okay, well, maybe one of the guys went back and picked it up, trying to use it for a light to kind of help them see. And so I'm kind of looking, and one of my guys comes over to me and goes, "Hey, Sergeant, do you have the chem light?" And I went, "No, don't y'all have it?" And he goes, "No." So I'm asking you. And I was like, "No, where the hell's the chem light?" So I look at the driver, and he goes, "Hey, Sergeant, man, I got a box of chem lights for you, man. Here you go." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." I was like, "Who the fuck took my chem light?" So we get everything unloaded. Humvee leaves. They get reloaded on up. Humvee leaves. They bounce back over the range. And we walk back over the chem on it, and I'm standing there staring at where I left this fucking chem light, and it's gone. The can of Pringles is still there. The lid's on it, but the can of Pringles is still there. Everything is still there. Just this chem light's gone. And I mean, I'm looking around, and I expect to see this chem light bouncing through the woods, bouncing through out there, just bouncing around like something got a hold of it. And I remember going, okay, something's not right. And these guys at this point in time, they're getting a little edgy. And I said, okay, guys, you know what? Maybe something's going on out here. I'll tell you what. We got a whole box of chem lights. We're going to go and mark the perimeter of the ammunition area. We got concertina wire, pickets in the ground, concertina wire strung around it that makes a square area. I said, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit every picket. We're going to put a chem light on it, and that'll put just a little bit of illumination in that area so we can kind of have something. It's dark.
Yeah.
There's no moon out yet, so it's dark. We get to the first picket, closest one to us, and I've got the little flashlight on me. I open up a chem light, crack it, shake it, set it on the picket, follow along down to the next corner, crack it, shake it, set it on there. As soon as I step left to go around the corner, two things happen simultaneously. August, Fort Hood, I step into a cold spot, Eric. It was so cold, I saw my breath in the flashlight. Same time I'm hitting this cold spot, though, off to my left, I hear the fucking thunk. And it sounded just like an actual canteen dropping on the ground. They make a really half-filled canteen with water. When you drop it, it makes a really unique sound. And that's exactly what I heard. So the cold spot's happening, the sound's happening, my head's whipping to the left where the sound's at. I'm trying to back into the cold spot at the same time. The guys behind me start saying, "Oh shit." I'm telling them to shut up. And I'm looking, and I don't see anything. And the cold spot's gone. Everything's gone. And I remember going, okay, something's out. My mind's automatically not something, somebody's out here.
Yeah.
The odd part again to me is that damn cold spot. So we finish the perimeter, and we go back to the camo net, and I'm sitting and watching the chem lights over there. And then I realized where the thunk came from, there is no insects again. We're back at it again. So it does this to us for probably about 30 minutes, whatever it is, going back and forth in front, because no noises at all. Still hear everything in the rear behind us in the wood line, but nothing going left, right to left. About every 10 minutes, it flip-flops on the sound. The kids have noticed it now. They're nervous. They're on edge. And I said, okay, we're going to go ahead. We're going to step out. And we're going to set ourselves up we're going to make our own little perimeter, in a circle of the three of us. I had the thick bushes I told you about. There's about the camo net was on to my right. The ammunition area was over to my left. And we were closer to the bushes than we were the ammunition. And I had one kid over my left shoulder and another kid over my right shoulder.
Can I interject here real quick? Now, you indicated none of you had weapons, correct?
No weapons.
So did Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett, did they fashion like spears or anything at this point? Or are you guys completely?
Ironic enough, no. They, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Nobody's ever asked that question. Um, what happened was, no, that they were honestly scared. At this point in time, they were scared.
Okay.
Their nerves were on edge. I was believing there was somebody out there messing with us. And my mind is either another unit was training, thinking that we were
Right.
somebody else or something else going on, and they're trying to sneak around us or come through, you know what I mean, to attack us for training. Um, or the other thought I had was the Texas militia was trying to come in. They knew we were there. My mind was going a thousand different places. Anything other than the paranormal at this point in time. The cold spot's still there. The
Yeah.
thump sound's still there in my back of my mind. And I know that something's not right. Spidey senses are screaming at me. Everything is screaming at me. Something's not right. David Crockett and Daniel Boone did not make any spears, and I wish they would have. I didn't even think about it at the time. I've got a pen flashlight, you know what I mean? Those old pencil flashlights. I got one of those, and I had it turned off. And again, left and right over, Daniel Boone and David Crockett were my left and right shoulders. And sure enough, something starts walking towards me. Nobody's quiet in the woods. Nobody's quiet in the woods. Nobody's quiet in the
Right.
woods. This isn't Hollywood. You're not going to go through the leaves and the brush and everything and be like a ninja. You're going to make a noise. And this thing was making a noise. And I remember this point in time, there was absolutely no insects anywhere. So you can hear this thing step, 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 step. It was a slow but deliberate walk towards me.
Were they
No,
thunderous or were
no,
they
it was quiet steps. It wasn't loud, wasn't earth shattering, it wasn't earth shaking. It was just like there was actually somebody like you or me trying to be quiet,
right?
walking towards me. We'll go with Daniel Boone over my left shoulder. He hears it too because he's saying, oh shit," and I elbowed him to shut him up because it's getting close. I know it's getting close, and
Yeah.
there's a tree line in front of me, and I'm squatting down to try and silhouette whatever's coming against the tree line above it, so I can see its shadow. So if you know what I'm talking about, to where see a tree line in the dark, and somebody walks on up,
Yeah.
there, you see their outline over, yeah, in the
Yeah.
dark. So that's what I was trying to do. And Eric, it probably got about 4 feet in front of me before my nerves actually finally cracked. And I turned the flashlight on. Two things instantaneously. First thing, there was nothing in front of me. Eric, nothing. Nothing. There was nothing there. To my immediate right in the bushes, something ran.
Oh shit.
I jumped up and I sprint through the path along the bushes to go up that 4.5 foot dirt hill. Remember, as
Yeah.
soon as I get to the top of the dirt hill, this giant ass rock lands behind me. Thump, thump, thump. You know, big rocks this big ass rock thumps down to the ground. I'm on combat mode. I spin around and I grab Daniel Boone, and I pull him face to face. And the audience, forgive my language here for a minute, but the quote unquote is what I said was, "If this is you two little fuckers fucking with me right now, I swear to fucking God, I'm going to bear you fuckers out here right fucking now." Now, as I'm saying this though, Daniel Boone is crying.
Oh
He's
really?
got tears nonstop streaming out of his eyes, and he is shaking so bad, Eric. I mean, he's literally shaking. I'm shaking him a little bit, but I could feel him shaking. Now,
Yeah.
as I'm threatening them with bodily harm at this point in time, the thick woods behind me, I hear a log break. You step on a big log, rotten log, it makes that sound.
Right.
I let him go. I spin around, I sprint over that hill, and I run right in those woods because I'm an idiot. I'm the first guy in a horror movie that's going to be killed. I and I got about 10 feet into those woods, and I stopped. There was no noises in the woods. It was deathly silent. and it was dark. And I remember with my flashlight on, it was still dark. It was so, I mean, it was, I got goosebumps, right? I just remembering it. And every part of my body was screaming that I needed to leave. I needed to leave. I needed to leave. And I slowly started backing out of the woods. And again, the only sound was me backing out. There was nothing. There's no other sound going on. I get out of the woods. And I remember standing there on that little dirt road, staring at the woods with my little flashlight. And I felt absolutely hopeless. I felt defeated. I felt perfect timing. That was my dog. I felt,
No kidding. I'm like, dude.
yeah, no. And I felt just, I don't know how to describe it other than drained, defeated, and just scared.
Yeah.
And I remember I looked over to my right.
Something was telling your body that no matter that you were no match for what was around
Yeah,
you.
I couldn't beat it. And I remember I looked over to my right and I saw my pickup truck. And that little infantry guy grinned. And I walked right on over to it. And I remember I looked at the woods. I flipped off the woods. And I went, fuck you. And I turned my headlights on. And when my headlights lit that area up, Eric, it was like, I'm not going to lie, God himself said, here you go, Sergeant Norton. Here's some. It was crazy. It was the craziest scene in the world. Just those lights on just drove me nuts.
Yeah.
No, he's hearing the neighbors outside. And so he thinks he has to go deal with them. And so I remember sitting there going, yeah, I got you now. And then the military guy in my head came back and said, no, noise and light discipline. You can't do this. And I stopped and I said, all right, turn the headlights off. And then remember 2002, 2001 time frame, this movie came out called Fast and Furious. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of those movies, but yeah, I do.
It was the first
you're
one.
talking
I went
about.
and saw it in the theater. I thought it was really cool. I was like, yeah, this is cool. So I was an idiot like everybody else, and I put neons on my truck. I did. I was a dumbass. I was a sheeple at the time. Oh, that would look really cool. So I put these two neons on the hood of my truck where the windshield wiper fluid would come out of. Yeah, so it was kind of cool. So I had a switch on there, and I went, all right, well, I can't have noise or light this. All right, can't have the headlights on. I'm gonna turn the switch on for my neons, and it put a little glow in the front of the truck, and my truck was backed up to the camo net. And I walked over the hill. There was a small, again, a little mound. It wasn't a hill at this point in time. When it sloped down, I stepped over. Daniel Boone and David Crockett are hugging each other pretty much. And this is where they're asking me,
Poor
yeah,
bastard.
they're like going, sorry, can we leave? 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 And I went, no, guys, we can't. We got to guard everything and let them start our post and quit our post only when we're properly relieved. We can't leave. We can't do it. We can't do it. We can't do it. And I lit up a cigarette, looking at him, and I turned my head. At that point in time, the driver neon winked. Something went in front of it. And we're talking, it is maybe 10 feet. I'm 10 feet from the front of this truck. And so I end up sprinting. I drop my cigarette. I sprint. And I'm there in a matter of seconds. Nothing's there. Nothing's running down the road. Nothing jumped into the woods. Nothing's going down the other side of the road. I'm peeking underneath the truck. I'm walking around. I'm looking under their car. I'm walking around. I'm going, you sons of bitches, I know you're here.
Yeah.
And I remember that point in time is when I just felt, you win. You win. You win. I turned the neons off. I walked back over to the guys. I lit up a cigarette. And I said, I have no idea what's out here, you guys, but I can't beat it. I can't. I can't. And I want to say David Crockett didn't smoke, but he got a cigarette off of me. And I just got the guys and said, just settle down. And we sat there for probably about the next 2.5 hours, as this time the sounds were different. So instead of just being to the front of us, quiet, loud, it'd go quiet, loud, then quiet, and then loud. And then behind us, it would get quiet. And it seemed to be that way for about the next 2 or 3 hours until the moon came up, and it wasn't a full moon, but it was enough moon to kind of illuminate the whole entire area. And that's when everything just went normal.
No
No
kidding.
kidding.
So you guys, I mean, it's not, no disrespect intended towards any branch of the military, but you're telling me that you're at a munitions depot.
It was just a little
You're there to
site. Yeah,
guard
just
it.
a little site they set up.
Um, is this a training thing for you guys, or is this like, this is just we decided to put this ammo here and now you guys got to take care of it?
Well,
I
normally,
mean,
yeah. So
no radio,
so
no
no
radio,
radio,
no
no
weapons.
radio, no weapon. So on most sites like that they have, they're going to have a radio, and they're going to store the ammunition away from the range, and it's a safety thing.
Right.
So
Sure.
there's generally, so like I said, I had never been this part of Fort Hood before, and I got to Fort Hood in '99. So a couple of years, I've never been this far north in Fort Hood. So I mean, I had to look on a map and had to follow map reading skills in my truck to drive out there to get to the site. And I remember that much, and I was like, "Why are we out here?" I mean, that was one of the things I thought about was why are we all the way out here? And the unit had to do a gunnery. They were doing a gunnery, so because every once in a while you could hear the echo from a distance of the rounds, boom, 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 boom. The 25 millimeter going off, but it was faint. So they were all the way up the road. And I think whoever picked it out, the S2, set that spot on up because like right there, close on by, right there by the hard ball, good open area, boom, here it is. And it was a hastily thrown together gunnery. So it was a hastily thrown together AHA because it's normally more organized than that. You're going to have
Okay.
guards, you're going to have radios, you're going to have this, you're going to have a lot of support. And I remembered the first night I was there, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. But again, with this unit, it was almost like National Lampoon Plays Army. This unit was, now my Army buddies, who will listen
Heck,
to this episode, they're all going to be like going, oh yeah, yeah, it was a horrible unit. It was probably the worst unit that I actually had a chance to serve. There's great soldiers in it, but just the leadership and some of the other stuff that took place with it, I mean, wasn't there. So I'm not even giving any close things to the unit at all whatsoever. But I mean, it was a hastily thrown together AHA. It was a hastily thrown together gunnery. I was actually an EIB, expert instrument badge cadre. I had earned my EIB. So if you had an EIB when they were setting up an EIB site, you were cadre, and I had my own lane, and I was supposed to be doing that, and I got grabbed for some reason. They went out there and not only try and set my site up, but also pull guard duty. But I remember that I tried to get out of it because I was EIB. We're getting ready to have these guys go through EIB qualification. And it's 4 days of testing on all infantry skills you have to go through. You have to do, you can get a no-go in the station, which means you fail it, and then you can retest and pass it. If you get a total of 3 of those, you're out. 3 strikes, you're out the rule. Or if you get a
yeah.
double no-go, so if you fail one, you test again and you fail again, you're out. So you have to do a 12-mile road march, and as soon as you cross the finish line, you have to stop, drop down, take up, disassemble and reassemble your M16 weapon, and you have to do all this in less than 3 hours with about 60-pound rucksack on your back. So it's you know you have to be an expert rifleman to even qualify for it. You have the PT scores have to be high to qualify for it. So it's a big deal in the infantry to go for the EIB. It's a really big deal. Which I was honored. I didn't get mine the first time. I really wish I tried. I got no go out the second day, but I got mine in '98. So I was static. So I got a chance to finally be cadre. So my first EIB that I got a chance to be cadre for. No, it wasn't. No, I'm sorry. I had a couple of them after that one. I apologize, but yeah, I got mine in '98. This was in '02. So I was supposed to be out there setting this lane up, which is weird that I got put out there. But so I know that somebody listening right now is remembering a certain thing I said earlier about whoppers
Yeah.
and coyotes. Sun comes up. Sun comes up, everybody gets brave again, right? And I looked at Daniel Boone and David Crockett, and I said, you guys know what? Coyotes. They were coming in last night because y'all's fucking traps. Go check your traps. And they were like, oh, saw an horn. Oh, I was like, told you guys, go check your traps. So they get to the first one, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching them. And they start jumping up and down and yelling my name. And I went, yep, they got something. The whopper was untouched. So was the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, and the fifth one. All five
So
whoppers
whatever was out there,
wasn't going for the food.
they not coming, and the coyotes were not coming to get that thing.
There was no coyotes that night.
So the sounds of the coyotes were,
I don't know.
not coyotes.
I don't see. I asked. So I got with Sergeant M probably about 4 days later, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, do you remember the AHA site?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "So that night it came the morning of release." He said, "Yeah, coyotes." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Did you really have coyotes?" And he looked at me, and all he said was, "Yes, we had coyotes," and walked away.
Oh,
This incident drove me so bad that morning when we got relieved, and I went home. To where my ex-wife made the comment that I looked like hell, and I got a couple hours of sleep, and we were supposed to link up with a buddy of mine and his wife later on that night. We're gonna grill on out, hang out together and stuff, have a couple of beers, and we get there, and even he looked at me and he was like, "You all right?" I said, "No, you're not going to believe this." And I told him the story, and we were going through it. And I remember he looked at me and goes, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to get my truck right now and drive up there and make sure those guys are okay." Then he said, "Let's go." So we got in my truck and we drove all the way up to that site. And I pulled up. The guy that relieved me looked at me and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I came up with some story that I'd like dropped my grandpa's knife or some shit like that. I remember that. It was some kind of weird bullshit story while I was up there. I was like, "Going, man, everything okay? Everything going good? Any problems or anything?" And the feeling that I had talking to him and the feeling that I had the night before were total opposites. There felt like it was the first night I was out there. Nothing out of place, nothing
nothing going on.
nothing weird, nothing abnormal, nothing. It was surreal. And I know it has Bigfoot aspects of the story. It's got some dogman aspects of the story. It's got some ghost aspects of the story. There's a whole bunch of things that took place that night that just filled the whole entire filled the box up. And since 2002, I've been racking my brain trying to figure it out. And every once in a while, I would tell the story to certain people, and it got known as the AHA story, you know. And so, during
Well, and Fort Hood has a reputation for being weird.
yeah, well, my barracks room was haunted.
And okay,
Yeah, my barracks room was haunted. And this was before that night. Yeah, I won't forget. We had 2-story barracks, and being an NCO, I had my own room. I shared a bathroom on the other side of the building, where the other room was at with another NCO. And there was nobody above me at all. I remember I had gone out that night for a little bit, got back to my room, turned the TV on, was kind of channel surfing through the TV, turned the TV off, was getting ready to sleep, and I heard footsteps in my room. And I had a lava lamp in there. I mean, there's actually like somebody walking. Remember those? So I had a lava lamp. So I can see my room clearly. I'm like, there's nobody in here. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to turn the TV back on. And I did. And then a couple of weeks later, we're doing a big road march that morning. And so I had to be up at like 3:30 in the morning, make sure my guys, all the good stuff. So it's probably like 8:30 at night. I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'll be damned if that thing didn't start walking around my room again. And I sat up and I went, "Listen, dude, I got a formation at 3:30 in the morning, so you need to stop. I got a road march I got to do," and it stopped. Never happened again. Yeah.
I had an experience similar to that. A guy that I worked with for years, unfortunately, committed suicide.
I'm sorry about that.
And there have been times at work where I had to work kind of a messed up shift. It would start in 2 in the afternoon, and I would work till 10 or as late as I needed to get the job done. And there was a specific, I'm a pressman for a printing company.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
There's a specific T-handled wrench that has a 14 millimeter socket welded to the end of it, and it's probably 14 inches long.
Right. Okay.
Red handle on the end, and there is a slot on the side of the press that fits in. And I've been a pressman for 38 years now. When a press is installed, they are leveled and they are extremely heavy. So there's no real vibration or any rocking or movement to the press at all. So, you can set a glass of water on there and you'll see a slight ripple, but there's no sloshing or anything.
Right.
And multiple times at night while I was there by myself, working till 10, 11 o'clock at night, that wrench would slide out of the slot that it's in on the side of the press, and it would fall to the ground 2.5, 3 feet in front of the press and just hit the ground and go ting, ting, ting. And I tried to recreate it multiple times. I would pull it out a little bit. I would pull it out a little bit more. I'd pull it out a little bit more so that the center of gravity was more towards the middle of it. And, if maybe just enough vibration, it would work, an extra 1/8 of an inch, and then it would flip.
Yeah.
Well, when it would do that, though, the handle would drop down first, and then the socket end of it would twirl over, and it would always land with the socket facing away from the press and the handle close to the press. But every time it came off that press by itself on its own, the red handle was the furthest point away from me with the socket facing. So it was not tumbling. It was just shooting out. It happened 3 times. And then the 4th time I was about 5 or 6 feet away from the press, and I turned back to the press and I saw it come off. I saw it just come off.
Wow.
And he was always a prankster. He was always he was that guy who he would fuck with you relentlessly and laugh his ass off. But if you did one thing back to him in good fun, he would lose his shit. He could not handle it. He could dish it, but he could not take it. And then there were some tragic things that happened in his life. And then, like I said, eventually he took his life.
Which is sad.
So one night, as I was getting ready to leave, we have an alarm system, and within the production area, there are 4 different motion sensors that when you get to the keypad before you set the alarm to walk out the door, you have to wait till those motion sensors go solid red, because if they're blinking at all, that means there's some motion, or it's still reacting to the motion of you walking out of the room.
Okay.
Because it was a short span of space to leave the production room and then get to the door that you leave. And you would always have to stand there, and it'd blink 1, 2, 3 times, and then you could set the alarm. So the night that I had turned around and saw it leave the press, I went to leave, and as I walked to the keypad, it blinked twice, and then it went red, and I just put my finger up to the pad to get ready to, and it started flashing again. And I was like, we used to have this really annoying, oh my God, it was god awful, but it was this
Oh yeah.
buzz that would go off if somebody would open the front door. And it was 20 years I had to listen to that thing. And then somehow it just died and they never replaced it. Thank God. Um, so I thought, well, shit, there's a couple of the employees that lived rather close to work. So I was like, shit, I wonder if somebody came in the front door. And now if I set the alarm, it's going to go off with them in the building. So I walked back and I flipped the lights back on. I walked through the whole place to make sure nobody was there. And I came back, got back to the keypad, flashed 2-3 times, went solid red, put my hand up to do it again, and it started flashing again. Only this time it didn't stop. And I literally, at this time I had already been, I had already graduated into doing paranormal investigating, and had a much deeper understanding and realization of these things going on than just being Joe Blow. And I turned around and I said, God damn it, Tony, quit fucking with me. I need to go home. I'm fucking tired and I do not want to deal with your bullshit.
Right.
And I fucking turned back to that keypad and it blinked 2 more times and it went solid red. And that was it.
Crazy.
So I don't know if I got through to him.
He might have just been coming by to
happened.
mess with you because that might be his way of saying goodbye.
That was his personality. Totally.
That might have been him saying goodbye to you.
Yeah, could have been.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, I was going to say you share your last name with a gentleman who's been on the show, Nick Orton, who puts out Tales of the Grid Square.
Great books.
Or Tales from the Grid Square. And we were laughing because earlier, before we started recording, I asked you if you were related to him, and it made the association because your story being a military story from Fort Hood. I know he's got several stories in his books about people who have had encounters at Fort Hood, and I thought by chance you guys might be related.
No, not related. We've talked a few times on Instagram. So because this experience at Fort Hood and trying to go in and find out through a time, like I say, everybody kind of started referring to the story as the AHA story.
Mm-hmm.
And during the pandemic, no C word, me and some buddies of mine, we would sit down at the local watering hole and have a couple of beers. And one night it was dead in there. We were just visiting and we all started telling ghost stories. And I said, I have a story. Y'all aren't going to believe this. And I told it. And these guys were like, man, one guy's like, oh, that's got to be a skinwalker. Or that's got to be a dogman. Or that's got to be this. And I'm like, but it fits all these categories. It's not just one specific category. And, from the thunks to the cold spot to the stalking us. It was crazy. So we just started kind of visiting. And I started playing trivia. About a year and a half ago, I got turned on to the podcast world and started listening to podcasts and such, and trying to find some answers, what took place, and trying to find somebody that had any kind of similar event that took place, because it stands out to me so much, and such a unique experience where the 2 soldiers were scared to death. I was scared to death, but these guys were crying. Rocks are being thrown at me. Logs are breaking. Insects are being quiet. Yeah, something that's walking up in front of you and is no longer there.
Yeah.
That
story, you check a lot of boxes in that experience.
Yeah,
you put a check mark in a lot of boxes.
And a lot of times still, when I tell it, it's get the goosebumps and everything else. And again, I've had an awesome paranormal life, but this event stands out so strong to me, to where getting turned on to the podcast world and stuff. So I decided last year I was going to possibly get my own little podcast started on up, and was kicking it around. And I remember listening to an episode, and I don't know whether it was either yours or it was Cryptids of the Corn. And they said, if you're going to do a podcast, the first thing you want to do is get the name and own the name.
Yep.
And so we were going to play trivia one night, and they asked us what a team name would be. And of course, had a couple of beers already, and I went, for the Drunken Cryptids. And I went, there's the name of the podcast. So I started Drunken Cryptids actually this year. A good friend of mine pushed me to do it. And so I came up with, we used the name, found out. So I own the domain, drunkencryptids.com. We started a YouTube channel for it, Drunken Cryptids. I've only got 10 episodes up right now. I've got 2 more in the slot. You know how that is. And I'm still new at it. So I'm still trying to figure out the ins and outs and playing with intros and outros and trying to get people to talk. But yeah, I got my interest in trying to do podcasting through Drunken Crypt, through you guys, was my inspiration for it. And there was an episode you did last year, or I binged your episodes. So there was one episode, and I wish I could remember what it was, but it struck a memory so strong into me. I came real close to emailing you right off the bat about it. Okay. And we may talk about it off air or something like that, or because you might want to save it for further down the. I don't know, but it was strong. It was a strong enough memory, and yeah, and so I'm not gonna lie. So I eagerly await every one of your episodes to come out. I really do.
Man,
You've got a bunch of episodes out there, and so on my Facebook page, I'll talk. I'll make posts and stuff, and I say, while you're waiting for another episode of us, please go check these guys out. These are my inspiration guys, and I'll talk about you. Uncomfortable. I talk about Cryptid Corn. I talk about, Tony Show, and of course, Sasquatch Chronicles. So,
sure,
yeah,
that's pretty good goddamn company right there.
Well, honestly, you guys don't realize it. But you guys inspire probably a lot more people out there than you even know. And when you're talking about Bigfoot and Brews, I wish I was in Michigan instead of Arkansas, because I would totally be down for Bigfoot and Brews.
It's a great time. It really is. I mean, I had no idea what to expect doing it the first year. And I mean, this sounds hokey as hell, and I hate to use a word, but it almost is the word you have to use. It was magical.
Yeah.
And last year was fantastic. I mean, it got better, and this year we kind of opened it up a little bit. Now it's Bigfoot and Brews and Spirits too. Yep. So we're going to see how that works out, and we just got nothing but great feelings going into this one. So
this is exciting. Because the bonus is that being able to binge, like your show, Tony's show, Wes's show, and Justin, Jay, from the beginning of y'all and to where you guys are at now and what you guys are doing, it's exciting. If that makes sense. It's exciting to where I love to see people succeed, if that makes sense. I love it. I'm the guy that's the cheerleader right there in the back going, you can go do it. Yeah. I'd be the guy cheering on David against Goliath.
You can do
it. Yeah, exactly. I'd be right there with David going, that's right. You go kick his ass. You got it, man. Come on. We're right here. That's me. And I have probably some of the best friends that a guy could ever ask for that I've surrounded, with me. And they're all wanting to come on. The reason why there's only 10 episodes out right now for the time this happened was the guy that was helping me, that pushed me to get started. He really wanted to do it. He was a huge, big fan of podcasting. He had all the tech smarts about it. I'm just some old, dumb grunt, and he's like, man, don't you worry about it, Matthew. I got us covered. I'll handle it. I just need you to talk. And I said, okay. Well, 2 weeks after Easter this year, he dropped dead of a massive stroke, and that set us back a lot, and that set me back a little bit for some grief time. Yeah, my personal life took a hit in March as well, and he was right there trying to help me out, get through everything. Then him losing him, and
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Ironic enough, my last episode, I actually had a medium on, And yeah, no lie. And he actually said that right there at the end. I choke up at the end of the episode because he's like, the guy's been screaming at me for the last 10 minutes that he loves you and he's right there and he's going to be with you. And, yeah, it's a really, it was a really surreal, emotional episode for him on the last one. But it, so I got, before you and me were getting ready to get started, before we started talking, I had a guy out of
Yeah.
the blue call me up and he said, "Hey man, I want to help you. I want to help you on out. I got the tech smart. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to help you get going." And I was like, "I got 2 right now. I'm trying to work on editing." And he goes, "Let me help you." So I gave him access to my
Yeah.
drive and he's working on them right now. I mean, so
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
So I look at it as, good things are coming on through. And again, I'm just small right now. I mean, just not, nothing major, having fun with it. You know,
It's where everybody starts, man.
I mean, if I make it
That's
big, I
where
make it
everybody
big.
starts.
If I don't, I don't. I mean, I'm having fun. I have fun listening to y'all. You guys are a big part of my inspiration. I'm not trying to stroke anybody's ego. You know, um, I've had a chance to, talk to Justin a few times from Cryptid Corn, um, which is good.
Great
Yeah,
guy.
great guy. We actually had a conversation about you one time. Yeah,
Did you?
we did. Because he
Talking
asked
shit
me,
about me,
he's
huh?
like, "Well, who all do you listen to?" I said, "I'll be honest with you, man. I listen to Eric at uNcomfortable." Like, and he goes, "Oh, Eric's great. I love Eric." You know. So
He's a great
yeah,
guy.
I mean, and it was, yeah, absolutely, totally enjoy it and everything. And I'll be honest with you, Eric. I mean, I've got. You want to keep going, man? I could tell you about haunted houses. I could tell you about. I tell you what, I got a small ghost story for you.
I'll tell you what, and I do want to do more, but it is so damn hot
Oh,
here.
good.
And in my studio, I only have a window air conditioner
Same.
and I have to shut it off in order to record because if not, my mic picks it
Yep.
up. So
I'm sweating
I'm
right now. Don't
cooking
feel
in
bad.
here at this point.
All
So
right. I keep.
I'd love to revisit that
Oh,
with you.
it's a
And I
real
promise you
quick,
we
short
will.
one, and it's about a really
Okay,
famous
go ahead.
place because I want to leave
All
it on
right.
a fun story. Okay, ready?
All
Okay.
right. All right.
Tombstone, Arizona.
Great
Yes,
movie.
great movie. I got drunk one night. I know every good story starts off getting drunk. I got drunk on a Sunday night, heard the Eagles standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Called my army buddy up, right? My army buddy Rick. Rick, I love you, buddy. Call my army buddy up, Rick. I said, "Hey, do you want to go stand on a corner in Winslow, Arizona?" And he goes, "Hell yeah." A week later, I'm picking him up in Dallas. I'm in Little Rock. We drove to Roswell, White Sands. You get to Tombstone. Tombstone was great and amazing. It's better at night. You get a chance to meet the locals. Excellent experience. During the day, it's like Tombstone on Disneyland. The only original place there is the Yep. The only original place there is the Birdcage Theater. Everything else has been remodeled and changed on up. The Birdcage has never been changed.
Yeah.
And you can walk through it and go check it on out. They got a museum at the basement for prostitutes. As I was walking up the stairs to the stage, you all remember the movie where they were performing at in the theater,
Yeah.
something touched my right shoulder as in like a lovingly caress. And I stopped, and my buddy Rick was behind me, and he goes, "What?" I said, "Dude, something just touched me." And he goes, "What?" I said, "Dude, something just touched me." So yeah, I had an actual physical contact touch at the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to leave it with a fun,
That's
positive
awesome.
story.
I believe the birdcage has been featured on Ghost Adventures and, if I'm not mistaken, on Ghost Hunters as well.
Did you just touch me? Actually, that's kind of ironic. Sorry.
That's awesome. That is very awesome. I tell you what, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. One quick thing here, and I was laughing with my girlfriend on the phone before we did this, and I she said, "Who are you interviewing tonight?" And I said, "He says his name's Matt," but I said his email came through from Drunken Cryptids. I said, which kind of puts a thought in your head about you know who this guy is. I said, but the way the email was written and composed, it's kind of I'm getting like this backwoods hilljack, drunken cryptids vibe. But then when I read it, he sounds like a very intelligent person and well-spoken. And then, so I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to go tonight. I don't know when I turn that camera on, I don't know who I'm going to see on the other end. Is he going to have teeth? Is he not going to have teeth?
Well, it is Arkansas.
Is he going to be wearing it? Is he going to be wearing somebody else's skin for a mask? I don't know. So, but no, you've been an absolute pleasure, and I'd love to get with you again, and we'll continue this in another episode.
I would love to. And Eric, the pleasure's been mine. This is great. I mean, I would love to pick your brain even off the air, to be honest with you.
I'm more than happy to, so I just got to get out of this hot box right now.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm with you on that one.
I'm losing my composure, and I'm sure my 5 head is decidedly more shiny than it was when we started. So.
Well, you can't tell. Don't feel bad, but I'm trying to catch up there with you. So.
Yeah, I keep saying that it's my eyelids are sinking, but that's not the case. So.
No, definitely. Well, Eric, man, I've had a blast, and I would love to do this again.
All right, sir. Well, before we get out of here, let everybody know Drunken Cryptids is the name of the podcast. It's on YouTube, currently, correct?
Yep. Just got the Spotify thing figured out. Like, I'm not tech savvy, so we're trying to transfer the save files from video to audio with editing to get it posted on. So I'm on YouTube, and the Spotify account has been created. There's nothing up there yet. I have a TikTok that I do, and I'm on Facebook as well. All the same word, Drunken Cryptids. And then I have a website, drunkencryptids.com. I had to buy the domain, and I got lucky. I own drunkencryptids.com. No one's thought of this.
You're fortunate. You're fortunate.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, all it is, I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. Want to interview, do some encounters. Yep, I've got mostly local people. I've had a couple of people from TikTok that reached out that I did an interview or two with. The Medium was one of them. He was a great guy. He was a great interview. Super nice guy. So, yep.
Great. That's what you need. You need good people to talk about having a good experience with you, and you need to be thankful that you get a good interview for your audience. So.
Oh yeah. I've been lucky so far, and to where I got asked the other night when the next episode was dropping. I had somebody email me, and they were like, "What's the next episode?" I'm like, "I'm working on it. I'm sorry, I got behind."
It starts. Yep. It starts.
So, but yep, I'm ready. I'm ready for it to go. I'm excited to see where it goes and how it happens. And if I stay local, I'm great. I'm happy with that. My goal is trying to figure again what happened. That night. And so, of course, by doing this, it's opened up a whole door. Well, you know this. I mean, yeah, I know we're both sweating. But it's opened up a whole Pandora's box and rabbit holes of craziness. And it's a hobby of mine. And so, yeah, I love it. And Eric, thank you, man. I mean, big fan, have been a big fan. Love the way you interview, love the way you question. And if there's any way I could emulate any way that you do on interviews, I mean, it would be great. There's no way I could ever do it, though, because the way you handle your guests, the way you talk to your guests, the way you ask the questions, and the questions that you ask. And there's been a few times you've asked people questions like, "That's what I was thinking."
I've had several people say that, man, I just ask this, and then you did. So I don't know. Maybe it's because you guys are just putting the energy out there for me, and I'm picking up.
It might be, but I enjoy your show, and so like on my Facebook page, I share your stuff, and I share Tony's and Justin from the Corn. So I mean, all the time, and I just want to say, hey, man, thanks for answering my email. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Everybody go out and check out Drunken Cryptids on YouTube, soon to be on Spotify. Matthew Orton, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure, and we will definitely be talking again.
Looking forward to it, sir.
Good night.
Good night.